Norman Baker, the former Liberal Democrat minister, of course. It's almost as if we'd planned this conversation. We hadn't. We hadn't, but you're here ready and waiting. Norman Baker, where have the Lib Dems gone? You barely kept your deposit. You used to have this seat.
Well, just as a matter of record, the percentage for the Lib Dem votes this time round was the same as it was last time. So we haven't made any progress.
7%.
We haven't gone backwards. Look, I mean, seats come and go all the time. I mean, you can look at North Shropshire and say, where's the Tory vote gone on that? The reality was that during the coalition, we alienated, I suppose, those people who voted tactically for us from the Labour and Green elements in Parliament, in the constituencies, and we didn't hold on to seats where we were in contention with Labour, and I went backwards from there. But, you know, I mean, Paul Rowan, who was the last Lib Dem MP there, was actually rather good, but I think he lost a seat from memory in 2010, so we're going back a long way now.
Norman, many people will say that the Liberal Democrats galvanised a certain section of the electorate in 2005. It was the anti-war movement. You were the anti-war party, and you hit your highest ever number of MPs in 2005 as a party, as a Liberal Democrat party, your highest ever number. Where are you in foreign policy discussion today? It seems like you're spreading yourself so thin, trying to be the Tory party without the Tories, meaning that you've sort of given up in areas like Rochdale.
Well, look, I mean, I don't think we've given up. I mean, let me be clear, Tom, first of all, I'm not here on behalf of the Lib Dem tonight. I'm here as in Lib Dem, but I'm not officially on behalf of the party. So I don't know what the official line is on that question. Frankly, you just asked me. What I would say is very clearly what's happening is that when you're a party like the Lib Dems with limited resources, then you target those seats which you think you're going to have a chance of winning, and that's what we're doing. And you've seen in by-elections up and down the country, where we're in a strong position against the Conservatives, we've won those seats with huge swings. Equally, there are seats where Labour are very strong, and they've won them with pretty large swings as well. That's just what's happening. And what's happening in the country at large is that people are saying, ABC, anyone but Conservatives, and they're working out normally who's the best party to defeat the Conservatives in any one seat. So this is a crazy by-election in a sense, because Labour's got three different candidates, ex-Labour candidates anyway, who are standing in this particular seat. And George Galloway is, whether people like him or not, is a class act in terms of turning around by-election victories. And for someone to win three different parties, or is it four parties, with different hats on, or the same hat in his case, with different political hats on, it is a major achievement. It's very difficult for an independent to come through. But we've seen George Galloway win, and we've seen this guy, John Tully, come up very credibly with 21% in second place.
Do you think it's to the detriment of our politics that the anti-war movement or the pro-Palestinian movement is now represented by George Galloway, when many of these same voters turned out to back Charlie Kennedy and his anti-war speeches, his eloquence, his personality in 2005? Ed Davey's nowhere on the scene. He's nowhere talking about foreign policy, perhaps because his electoral strategy has discarded seats like Rochdale in favour of Surrey seats.
Well, he's certainly more likely to win a Surrey seat than a Rochdale seat. That's whether there's a war going on in the Middle East or otherwise. That's just the reality, that where we're going to win seats in the next election is in the so-called blue wall in the south, not particularly in seats like Rochdale. But look, I mean, one of the reasons George Galloway has won is because he's a very effective politician. But the other reason he's won, in my view, is because none of the parties are actually capturing the public mood accurately on what's happening in the Middle East. Now, I think the public mood, if I may say so, if I get captured, I hope I do, is horror at what Hamas did to innocent Israeli people, but also horror, and perhaps even more horror, to the way the Israelis are responding, not least of all in the last 24 hours, by shooting civilians trying to get some food, desperately trying to get some food. So I think in those circumstances, the public is pretty revolted by what's happening, and nobody's really saying that from the three major parties. That's the problem. And that's why Galloway's come through.
Do you think he'll continue to stand in Rochdale? There's lots of chatter about whether he'll hop and skip and jump to another seat, perhaps a London seat, at the next general election. You've got a lot of experience in politics. What would you do if you're in his shoes?
Well, look, position 9/10 to the law, isn't it? As the old saying goes. He's got a majority of 6,000. He's got a chance to dig himself in. I don't actually share. Paul Richards, by the way, once stood against me in Lewis, so Paul and I know each other from from the past. I don't actually think that George Galloway will be necessarily a bad MP. He's got any sense, and he has got some sense. He will ensure that constituents are looked after, either by him directly or by a very effective team in his office. That's what he ought to do. And having got his foot in the door, he would be well advised to keep it there. He did actually campaign on things like the fact that Rochdale lost its A&E department in 2011, and the fact that the football club's in some difficulty. So he didn't simply concentrate on the Middle East. He did raise local issues as well, as I understand it.
He left 5 seconds at the end of each speech to mention the football club and be able to have these sort of sound bites in interviews. Oh, I didn't only talk about Gaza, just 99% of the time.